So you know those times when you're feeling really good and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, your brain steps in and tries to take you away from it. You're having this moment of feeling joyful and connected, happy, present, and then your brain steps in and is like, you're not going to feel that good for that long. Let me come up with some reason right now why you shouldn't be feeling good. Let me give you something to worry about, something to stress about, something to regret, something to feel awful about. Why does this happen? What is going on when all we want to do is feel good and let ourselves be in the moment when things are going well, when life is going well, and we just want to enjoy it for the time that it's there? What do we do about this? How do we stop our brains from hijacking our happiness, bringing us into a state of fear or anxiety or upset when all we want to do is feel good? I'm going to talk today about what this is all about, why our brains do this, and then what you can do to actually be present and connected to the joy that you are experiencing when you are experiencing it. Prolong it a little bit longer so you can just feel good a little bit more. I hope you get a lot out of this one. This is a question that I get a lot from people who are like, I don't know what's going on with me. Why can't I just feel good? Why is it whenever I feel good, my brain comes up with some reason for me to feel bad? So I hope that this helps to clear a lot of that up and gives you some tools to prolong it and not let your brain keep doing that to you. If you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, say hello in the comments. If you're back again, say hello. Love being able to connect with you all and you all being to connect with each other in the comment section there. Either way, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of my incredible membership community, the Shift Society, where we are taking this work deeper and people are being supported all along the way. You can get more information about that in the description below. I help heart-centered people break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And our brain's pulling us away from feeling good. That is that crap that holds us back. It holds us back from being able to just really sit and enjoy feeling joy. So when does this come up? How does this come up? It can come up in any kind of situation. So when you're feeling good, so say you just got a promotion, or you just completed a project and you're feeling really good about it, or your relationship is going really well, or the sun is shining and life feels good, or you're just, for whatever reason, you're just feeling good. And you're going through life and you're just sort of like skipping along. And then all of a sudden, bam, your brain is like, let me give you something to stress about. Let me give you something to feel anxious about. Let me give you something to worry about. Let's not let you feel too good right now. Why does our brain do this? And what can we do about it? So there are several reasons. There's several things going on there when this happens. And we're going to talk about a few of them here. So the first thing that we need to know about our human brains is that they have a natural negative bias to them. Brain research shows that yes, even when you're in a state of neutral, your brain is going to automatically try to veer off into something negative. And it's not because our brains are evil. It's not because our brains are trying to punish us. It's because our brains are trying to keep us alive. The main job of the human brain is to keep the human being alive. And so your brain thinks that if you just naively go, skipping through the forest without a care in the world, and you hear some kind of rustling off in the bushes, and automatically just assume that the only option it could be is just the breeze, hitting the leaves, or just like a gentle little squirrel running through the forest, without even considering that if you're skipping through a forest that has wild animals in it, that it could in fact be a dangerous wild animal. And so your brain needs to have that vigilant awareness around it for your protection. Now, it's not super helpful in situations in our modern life where you're like, oh, I just got a promotion and I'm feeling really good about it. And then all of a sudden your brain is like, oh, well, what if they find out that you're just a fraud? Or what if it was just a mistake? Or what if you're not up to the task and you can't actually complete the role that they've, bestowed upon you? that's not going to be helpful. Your life is not in danger based on how well you're going to do in this role. And so that's where that negative bias isn't helpful. When it starts taking you down these paths of all these terrible things that could happen that are not actually threatening to your life. But understanding that your brain doesn't always know the difference between assuming the worst or expecting the worst or trying to kind of prepare for the worst based on your survival needs and just based on, everyday life stuff that isn't actually dangerous. So just understanding that from just like a physiological perspective, that your brain, all human brains have this natural negative bias. So if you're like, oh, why does my brain always do this? Just know that all our brains just do this, and we can work on it so that it doesn't just do this, but at its default, it is going to a lot of the time. The next reason why you can be feeling good and then all of a sudden your brain will just bring up all kinds of anxiety or fear or worry or regret kind of out of nowhere and blindside you with it is we're going to go back to childhood. Because if you were punished a lot, criticized a lot, reprimanded a lot when you were happy, then there's going to be some fear. There's going to be some underlying stuff there around it being risky to be happy. So if your parent or caregiver, whoever it was, even if it was a teacher or a coach or whoever, was really harsh with you when you were feeling too good. And parents do this a lot. Like, stop being so happy, or, settle down. That's the good one. That's the big one. Just settle down, right? Whenever we see a child that's getting too full of joy and I think to defend parents a little bit, because I'm a parent of small children, sometimes kids go from happy to like silly and dangerous isn't the right word, but they go for like to start getting kind of like aggressive and things just sort of getting out of control pretty quickly. And so I think most parents are trying to get their kids to calm down so that things don't get too crazy and then somebody gets hurt. But there is a fine line there between allowing children to just experience joy and not shutting down the joy and not telling them to just calm down or to, not get too excited and not get too worked up, right? There's a line there where I think we need to let children be children. And a lot of us weren't allowed to be children. Maybe because your parent had, a mental health issue themselves. They were dealing with their own stuff. They couldn't cope with the extra stimulation. And so they took it out on you. Maybe it's because, you had a parent struggling with a lot of anger and they didn't know how to cope with themselves. So anything else just felt like too much and they couldn't just regulate themselves. They couldn't say in like a neutral or, even a kind way, like, hey, I'm getting overwhelmed with all of the stuff going on. Do you think we could just take it down a notch? Maybe they snapped at you. Maybe they yelled at you. Maybe they were harsh towards you when you were feeling good, when you were feeling happy. And so there is this sort of learned reaction to happiness where it may not feel safe to feel good. And so again, your brain is trying to protect you from being reprimanded or criticized or called down by getting you out of feeling too good. But here's what you need to know. You're a grown-up now. You are allowed to have your feelings. You're allowed to experience your feelings. You're allowed to express your joy, and no one else is allowed to police that for you. You're not that child anymore. You're not under the authority of that parent who was not being fair or kind to you. So letting yourself have that feeling and reminding yourself that I am a grown-up who is allowed to have their feelings and there's no one that is allowed to police me for that. I remember a few years ago, I was at a high school reunion and as you all probably know, I'm not someone who really hides their emotions. And I get really excited when I see people I haven't seen for a long time, especially people that I was close to at some point. I love human beings. So getting to see human beings that I, had a strong connection with at some point and haven't seen them for a while, yeah, that gets me excited. And so I remember being at this reunion and seeing a friend that I hadn't seen for a long time. And I went up to him and I was chatting with him and we were having a great chat. And I was getting so just like happy and excited about connecting and chatting. And he just looked at me at one point. He's like, "Hey, Jules, you need to calm down. You need to not get so excited. You're like kind of killing this sort of cool vibe that you got going on here. And you're kind of ruining that vibe." And I just remember looking at him and being like, okay, first of all, I have no intention of having any kind of cool vibe that needs to be maintained by not expressing how I'm feeling. Second of all, I didn't come here to be pleasing or palatable to you. I came here to connect. I came here to chat. I came here to be happy. And if that is too much, then I'm going to leave that with you. I didn't actually say that. I said that to myself. And to be honest, after taking a second and being a little bit, put off and taken aback when he said that, and I kind of took a second. I was like, oh, maybe I am being too happy. Maybe I am being too enthusiastic. Oh, maybe I should just, calm myself down or take it down a notch. But then I remembered, oh, wait, I'm not a child. And this person isn't here to police my emotions. And I'm allowed to show up how I want to show up. And they are allowed to not like it. And so as soon as I kind of collected myself, then I went through that other thought process. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but I just I think I looked at him and I was just like, you know what? I think you're fine. I think you can handle a little bit of extra in your life. And if you can't, that's fine too. Something like that. So the moral of the story, let yourself be full of joy. Let yourself be extra in how you experience and express that joy, and don't let anyone take that away from you. Joy is so precious in this day and age that any bit of it that you can get is yours. Don't let anyone rob that from you. They have no right to do that. The next reason why we can be feeling good and then our brains can just pull away from that and we start feeling anxious or worried is because of this whole concept of foreboding joy. That so often, so many of us think that bad things happen when you're least expecting it. So if you are going to let yourself feel too good, something bad is going to happen, because bad things only happen when you're blindsided by it. And so there can be this real fear. I don't know if you've ever had that. I've definitely had that, where I've been feeling really good, and then all of a sudden my brain flashes to something tragic happening. If I'm like out with my kids and we're, out playing and they're riding their bikes and we're hanging out, and all of a sudden my brain will be like, oh my gosh, what if they just like rode onto the street right now and got smacked by a car? And I'm like, okay, brain, not helpful. But knowing that our brains do that sometimes, where we think it's dangerous to feel good because impending doom is lurking right around the corner and will hit us when we least expect it. So we better be vigilant and try to expect anything bad that could happen. And in a way, we think that if I expect something bad to happen, that it's not going to happen because I've expected it, and bad things only happen when you least expect it. Do you see how our brains work like that? This is a deeper one. This one really comes down to learning how to trust. How to trust life. This doesn't mean that everything is always going to work out perfectly, but just have this sort of basic sense of trust going through life. It also means that we have to learn how to trust ourselves. That we have to learn how to trust that we will be able to handle things when they happen, when and if they happen. It doesn't mean that we should throw caution to the wind and don't ever plan or prepare, and we're not ever, responsible or diligent about things. It just means that we don't get paranoid and perseverate, wow, really going with the P's here, on something terrible possibly happening. That we trust that, okay, I'm going to plan and prepare, but I have to release at some point and lean into trust that I will be able to handle when things are not perfect. When, heaven forbid, it's something unfortunate, something uncomfortable, something difficult does happen, that I will be able to deal with it. And that comes down to our trust in ourselves. I have a guide on the simple steps to self-trust that you can get. It's in the description below, and that's going to teach you how to build that trust within yourself. I'm curious to know from those of you who've ever experienced that foreboding joy. Let me know in the comment section below when you have been afraid to feel good because you're scared that something bad is going to happen when you do. I'd love to hear about that in the comments. The next thing that pulls us away from feeling good is the simple thought that I'm not always going to feel good. So it's almost like, well, I'm feeling good, but this can't last. So I may as well bring myself into feeling bad. So at least I have control over it. I'm the one who's deciding to feel bad instead of waiting for something to happen where I'm going to, feel bad, or, life goes on and things come up and things are not always smooth sailing. So I'm going to kind of sabotage it now. So at least I'm in control of when I start to feel bad, which, in somewhere in our brains, it makes sense, but it's just not helpful because we're robbing ourselves from more joy when it is there. And this one we deal with by accepting impermanence. That, bad news, good feelings don't last forever. Good news, bad feelings don't last forever. That every experience as a human is impermanent, that our lives and our emotions and our experiences, they go in waves. And when we cling and we have this fear that, I'm feeling good right now, but it's only a matter of time before the other shoe drops or something happens or I get thrown off. Yeah, that's going to happen. That's just part of being human. And so fearing it is not going to be super helpful. Accepting it is. Because the other part of it, like I said, is when things are not going well, we're not feeling our best, when things are more difficult, the good news is that it's going to get better again. That is impermanence. And the more we accept it and the less we resist it, the easier it is to move through the natural and normal ups and downs of being a human being. So this whole concept of impermanence, this learning how to accept the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows and the backs and forths of life, is made so much easier when we learn how to practice mindfulness. And I have a free guided mindfulness audio for you. The link is in the description below. This is my favorite one by far, which is why I want to make it available for free for everyone. And this one is going to teach you how to stop attaching so tightly to whatever it is that you're both feeling or experiencing, and just allowing yourself to just be a human being who experiences different things without getting so caught up in it. That is in the description below. I would love to hear from you too, what connected with you from this video. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you got something out of this video, if you could take a second and like the video, that just helps with the YouTube algorithm and getting out in front of more people. And then also, of course, sharing it helps a great deal as well. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I think the button's about right down there, and then we can stay connected. Thanks for being here and for being amazing and for all of your support. I appreciate you. Until next time. Take good care.